I never planned on living with my younger brother again, but after our parents passed and he got accepted into a nearby college, it made sense. He was 19, quiet, respectful, and needed a place to stay. My husband agreed, said it was the right thing to do, and for the most part it worked. We had the space. I had the time. And honestly, I missed having someone around who actually talked to me. My husband was rarely home, always working late, and when he was here, he barely noticed me. Conversations were short, predictable. We moved through the house like strangers who shared a calendar. At first, it was comforting having my brother around. He brought back a sense of energy to the place. He helped out, cracked dry jokes, and made dinner when I was too tired to care. I noticed how much he'd changed. Taller now, with a voice that carried more confidence than I remembered. He wasn't a kid anymore. I caught myself watching him sometimes. Felt harmless until it didn't. There was a night I walked past the bathroom and saw the door cracked open. Steam pouring out, music playing. I caught a glimpse of his bare back in the mirror and looked away too slowly. My face flushed, heart racing, and I hated that I noticed. I didn't talk about it, tried to dismiss it, but I started becoming aware of little things. How he smelled after a shower. How he smiled when I handed him coffee. How he listened, actually listened when I spoke. I told myself it was the loneliness. That I was just starved for attention. My husband barely touched me anymore. We hadn't been intimate in months. He was tired. He had meetings. He had stress. And I, apparently, had needs that I had learned to ignore. Until I couldn't. One afternoon my brother and I were sitting on the couch, watching something dumb on TV. He laughed and leaned close, and I caught a whiff of his skin, clean laundry, and something I couldn't name. His leg brushed mine and I didn't move away. I felt guilty for even noticing, but I also didn't stop. He didn't pull back either. The silence between us changed. It was no longer comfortable. It was charged. I started avoiding eye contact. I cooked more than usual. I cleaned obsessively. I blamed hormones, stress, boredom. Anything but what was really happening. Because saying it out loud would make it real. That I had begun to think about him in ways I shouldn't. That my mind drifted places I knew it shouldn't go. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't help wondering if he noticed the shift too. If he felt it. And if he did, why wasn't he stopping it either? My husband left for a weekend work retreat, barely saying goodbye. He kissed my cheek like a chore and disappeared before sunrise. I stood in the kitchen with a quiet I hadn't felt in weeks. My brother woke late, hair messy, shirt half tucked. He smiled when he saw me, thanked me for the coffee, and sat across from me like nothing had changed. Maybe for him, nothing had. For me, everything felt heavier. That day stretched longer than usual. We talked more than we should have. He told me about a girl in one of his classes, how it didn't work out. He said she was fake, too obsessed with her image. Then he paused, looked at me for a moment too long and said, "Not everyone's real like you." I laughed it off, changed the subject, but the compliment lodged itself somewhere I couldn't reach. We cooked dinner together. Nothing special, just pasta. But I found myself watching how his arms moved when he stirred the sauce, how he leaned close when reaching past me, how he didn't apologize for touching me lightly at the waist. It felt intentional. And I didn't flinch. I didn't even breathe. After dinner we sat close, barely an inch between us. He handed me the remote, our hands touched, and neither of us pulled away. I felt his eyes on me more than once. I knew I should move. Say something. Create space. But I didn't want to. I liked the way he looked at me. Like I was someone worth paying attention to. Something inside me stirred that I hadn't felt in years. He asked if I was happy. Not just in general, but with my life, my marriage, with everything. I said I didn't know. He didn't press, just nodded slowly, like he already knew the answer. I asked him why he wanted to stay here instead of dorming with friends. He looked at me and said, "Because I feel more at home here than I ever have anywhere else." My stomach twisted. Later, we were in the same room, but it felt different. Every glance felt like a question. Every silence begged for a response. There was no tension I could name, but it wrapped around us tightly. I caught myself studying his mouth when he spoke, the curve of his lips, the way he tilted his head when he was focused. I hated that I was memorizing him. I went to bed early, but sleep never came. My skin buzzed, my thoughts ran wild. and my body betrayed every line I had drawn in my mind. I told myself it was a phase, a strange hormonal slip, something that would pass. But I didn't believe it. He wasn't acting like a brother anymore, and I wasn't treating him like one either. Whatever was between us was growing, quietly but undeniably. And I didn't know how to stop it. It started with his voice behind me, low and certain. He said my name like it meant something. I turned, startled by how close he was. His eyes didn't wander. They held mine, searching for something he already knew was there. He asked if I was lonely. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The silence said enough. He stepped closer and I didn't move. I should have. I told myself that again and again in those few seconds, but I stayed still. He reached up and brushed a strand of hair from my face, slow, deliberate. My breath caught. His fingers grazed my cheek. I felt warmth shoot through me, not just from touch, but from the certainty in his actions. He wasn't unsure. He wasn't stumbling. He knew what he was doing, and I realized how badly I wanted to be wanted like that. His hand rested against my neck, thumb near my jaw. I closed my eyes, not in fear or confusion but surrender. My heart pounded, not from guilt, but from anticipation. When our lips met, it wasn't sudden. It was the answer to a question we'd both been asking in silence. There was no resistance, no panic. Just heat. Hunger. A depth I hadn't felt in years. He kissed me like I mattered. Like he had thought about it too many times to count. My hands found his shoulders. His arms wrapped around my waist. It was wrong in every sense, and yet nothing had ever felt more certain. We didn't speak. Our bodies moved naturally, as if rehearsed. Every barrier, every hesitation dissolved. It wasn't rough. It wasn't desperate. It was quiet, intentional. Each touch carried meaning. Each second deepened something that had been buried for too long. He made me feel like a woman again, not just a wife, not just a caretaker. Someone seen, desired, chosen. Afterward, we lay in silence. I stared at the ceiling, heart racing, breath still shaky. He didn't try to speak. He reached for my hand instead, intertwining our fingers slowly. It was gentle, not possessive, just a moment held in stillness. I didn't know what to say, and I was terrified that anything I did say would shatter it. My mind spiraled. Thoughts of my husband, the years we'd spent, the vows, the house we built. And yet none of that felt present in that room. Only this new tangled reality. I waited for the guilt to come crashing down, but it didn't, not right away. What I felt was relief, then fear, then more confusion than I'd ever known. But regret wasn't part of it. Eventually, I got up without speaking, wrapped in silence. He watched me but didn't stop me. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. His presence lingered long after I left the room. Something had shifted permanently. I couldn't undo it. I didn't even want to. And that terrified me more than anything else.